Visit geoal.com and learn how GeoAL implements next-generation intelligence advancement technologies to aid the Department of Defense with precision and expertise analysis. GeoAL.
The new era of intelligence.
Welcome to the Veteran Business Collective podcast.
And we are back again. My name's Chase Roth, joined with Avery Washington. As always, it's an honor, Avery.
Thanks.
To be back in the studio with you again.
I'm glad I could be here.
So am I.
Nice.
And joined by the one and only Lindsay Cashin.
Hello.
Hello.
It's good to be here.
Is it?
Well, it is. I am excited.
To be determined, maybe.
No way.
No.
It's going to be great.
Excellent. Well, we're happy to have you here. We're excited about it, being that we're the Veteran Business Collective, and we collect all kinds of things from businesses to nonprofits and that sort of thing. It's really cool to be able to say that we've had an ongoing, unofficial relationship with the Honor Foundation for quite a while now, thanks to mainly yourself and your involvement. So.
Well, stems from the veteran population here and what all of you are doing, but you are part of this community, so it is a pleasure. I'm so happy what VBC has been doing, and just you're going to continue to climb and do amazing things.
Well, we appreciate you making time in your schedule to come down and hang out and chat with us today. I've heard from Avery that you two have had past encounters through the Honor Foundation.
We did.
Mm-hmm.
Avery's an alumni of the program.
It's true.
It is a true thing.
Not only that, so when I went, Lindsay was my coach.
That's what I was.
When I went through, which is pretty cool. So it was interesting because there were various, there are different coaches from different industries for different folks. And I remember when I was applying, I was going to be out of the military already. So I was really wondering, should I even do this, or what am I going to get out of it? There's always that factor. And I was so glad that I did it. I was already in real estate, which I'm still doing. But the tracks and the classes and the mentorship and the things discussed, it sounds cliche, but were life-changing, realistically. I mean, even ironically, some of the biggest clients I have are literally by way of proposing ideas while attending the Honor Foundation, and a string of, you should talk to this person, and that's led to me having relationships with some of the folks that I do the most complex deals with now. So a ton of value. I found a ton of value in attending and getting mentorship from Lindsay and Dave Polaris and a number of folks.
So life-changing, most complex, biggest deals. Could you have asked for a better endorsement?
No.
You couldn't have paid for a better endorsement, honestly, right? Probably.
No.
I'm here for you.
It's word of mouth, though. So, okay, but from this veteran community, who is a better resource of pushing great resources out there than your word of mouth by those who go through the program and who experience it? And
Well, clearly for an endorsement like that, you're doing something right. So let's back up for a second and just give you a minute to say, what is THF and what are you all about for those that don't know?
Yeah. So who are we? The Honor Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit for the special operations community, solely laser focused on special operations as they are navigating career transition. So we provide a 3-month free transition course, and it's phenomenal because it's free. So we don't want anxiety of transition and added fees on that for the family. So we're doing everything to make sure that when a fellow, as Avery, goes through the program, it's no expense to him. But during this time, what he's doing is having a lot of self-reflection on his values, what's important to him and her, what's important to where you're going next. What do you want to do? Do you want to make a lot of money and work long hours, or do you want to be your own boss? And what that first phase does for us is really sets up phase 2 and 3, where then we go into the toolkit. It's building your resume, building your LinkedIn design, how to effectively have an elevator pitch and tell your story. And storytelling is such a big part of the Honor Foundation, because when you meet somebody, you want to make a connection. You want to have that inspiring moment where you want to follow up more and you want to learn more and you want to help somebody with what they're doing. So a lot of our focus for 3 months is how to effectively tell your story, tell your extraordinary career in the military community and what you've done, your extraordinary skills, and how we highlight that through interactions and conversations, sometimes real formal conversations, and other times it's just very informal over a beer at our campus or at a restaurant. But we are trusted partners to the fellows who go through the program. We're so proud. We've got over 1,300 alumni nationwide. Some of them are actually overseas, I should say. We've got individuals over in Stuttgart. We've got some in Spain, others over in Japan. So it's a great program. 3 months of focused solely on the individual.
That's awesome. Sounds amazing. Question. So when you started explaining, you said focused only on the special operations community. Is there a reason for that? What's the...
Yeah, well, a few reasons for it. But how THF started was Joe Musselman was our founder. He was going through BUDS, and he had a career-ending injury. And as he was transitioning out of the NSW community, he recognized that there was not a focus on transition for these top of the top, best of the best veterans as they were going through what's next for them. So we took surveys. I shouldn't say we. The organization at the time took surveys. They asked transitioning veterans what was the hardest part of transition, what could we do, how could we serve you better? And about 95% of the respondents said that a deployment was easier than transition. And that was that aha moment that said we have to do something better for our veterans and their families in transition. So it started out in San Diego, and it was just on the SEAL community at first. And then as the program and alumni began to just have word of mouth of what strength the program was, as we began to grow in San Diego, we then opened a campus in Virginia Beach. So we had West Coast and East Coast SEAL communities. Then we focused here in North Carolina for the Marine Raider community. And then we have a virtual campus that opened next to serve everybody outside of a physical campus. And then we just opened our Fort Bragg campus. And why we're laser focused on SOF is because over the course of a veteran's career from Special Operations community, the added training, the added deployments, the added statesmanship, just alone the liaisons with foreign governments, interagency interactions, the training is different and the lifestyle is different. And I'm coming from a family that my husband was fortunate enough, he served conventional and here. So I could recognize the differences, but it really was just, what can we do to make sure that these individuals are doing something more than TAPS or the TRS class? What else could we do that's going to understand this is what you did in this career. It's why you're so amazing. Let's help you get to that next role. It's easy. And it's personal for me though too. Because when I look at a military family and when I look at a fellow who goes through this program, I see my family. I see the ups and downs of deployments, the missed birthdays, the missed holidays, and the time where you need to reconnect with each other. So what could we do to help? And that's why we do it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
How'd you get involved?
It's very funny. When we first moved here, I was working in the private sector at a clinical research company here, and it was the first cohort that stood up in Wilmington for THF. I'm a military spouse, like I just said. My employer asked if I could go down and talk to this group of Raiders who were coming to visit to learn about company culture. And I kind of tilted my head and I said, oh, okay, why? I just want to know why. And they said, well, you're a military spouse, you'll know what they're doing. And immediately I was like, well, that kind of bucketed me into okay.
I know all things military.
Right. And I will say there was a maturity part to it for me where, oh, you just bucketed me into a category. And I've never associated myself in a category, but I'll let this go. I walked into the room and I knew 6 of the guys in the class.
Okay, maybe they were right.
Yeah. I was like, oh,
Maybe
all right,
I do
bite my
fit in
tongue
this
on that one.
category after all.
But what was interesting was I was helping my colleagues at the time more than I was helping the raters at the time, because I understood what they had done in their careers, and I was explaining to my colleagues how they could find value of bringing them in for employment, where they could fill that gap of leadership capabilities and just that agile, adaptable individual, how they have effective interpersonal communication skills, they're project leaders, attention to detail, they show up on time, they will not leave until the job is done. These are the type of people we want working here. So I asked at the end of the visit, I asked their vice president of operations at the time, I said, what can I do to help? And he said, well, we need volunteers. And I said, what type of volunteers? He said, volunteers are what drives our success. People who coach, who mentor, faculty, people who want to have cups of coffee conversations. And I said, well, great, sign me up. I'm happy to do it. And I never looked back. I loved it. I hit a point, though, where I was working in the private sector and my hours were long. And I did middle of the night client calls to overseas. And it hit me one night at dinner. My daughter said, well, I guess I can't work when I get up, older, have a family, own my own restaurant. And I said, well, why? And she goes, well, you can't have everything and be good at everything. Case in point. And I'm like, oh,
ouch, huh?
Wow. And I began reflecting, and I said, what is it about my job that I love? I love HR. That was my job. I absolutely loved it. But it was very transactional. And my time with THF, it was transformational. So I wasn't looking for a job. I was gainfully employed. But I called our CEO, and I said, what else can I do? How could I help more? I'm thinking about my life, my priorities, the kids, my husband's deployment cycles. I think I want to be a little bit more present there for my family. Mm-hmm. Here I am.
Wow.
Never looked back. Never would have thought I would be at a nonprofit. But it kind of comes full circle because I'm doing what I love for a community that I love. And I'm still very much engaged with the business community, talking their language, still talking about leadership development, and talent management. So it's a win-win. I pick up my kids at the end of the day from school. It's fantastic.
No more middle of the night calls to overseas?
No more middle of the night calls overseas. However, I serve the virtual classroom too, so I've got fellows who are overseas. I don't mind if I get a message late at night because I know it's the daytime for them, and I know that I'm that partner and that trusted advisor in this journey. So a 2-minute response to a text message, I'm okay with.
So I don't think you explicitly stated it. What is your position with the Honor Foundation then?
So my position is the vice president of people. So
for the whole thing, not just regionally or at this campus, but all
the whole
of
thing.
Okay.
Yeah, the whole thing. I help the Raider campus here. That's one of the ones I help directly, and the virtual campus directly. Mm-hmm. So all the fellows that go through that program, I still partner with. I have one-on-ones with, and I'm a very direct advisor to what they're doing in their journey and their family. But I oversee the people team, and it's not that traditional HR inward role. It is very outward focused to our alumni, to our fellows, and to businesses. I am looking to build bridges to great opportunities for the fellows at no cost to the employer.
Awesome.
Yeah, just out of the authentic goodwill of, hey, we've got great talent for you. How can we work together to make sure somebody gets a job there?
Yeah, absolutely. What would you say are some of your biggest challenges?
So it's interesting. I think it depends on the region, what the challenge is. Everybody wants the men and women we serve from this community to go right into those contracting roles or in that government GS space. But part of what our program is showing is we're opening that aperture to explore what else is there, where you can have a safe landing, not in this same community and same world.
Yeah.
So I think one of the obstacles at first is navigating those conversations, saying, yes, I know it's stressful getting out, but you don't have to take the role where you take your uniform off one day, go into a suit and tie the next, and pick and choose. You have a choice of what you want to do. Embrace that. So that phase one, that's the most challenging, I think. And we have this, by week 3, our fellows are either bought in and sold, or we start huddling as a team and saying, let's put a little bit more focus on John Doe because he's pulling back in class. He's maybe not being as vulnerable, opening up, sharing his stories. So it's a team effort to make sure that we're overcoming those obstacles. In the corporate world, gosh, I think it just depends too. But there's more organizations that want to hire veterans because they see the strength of veterans. They see the leadership abilities and capabilities. Today we just visited 2 organizations here in Wilmington led by veterans. So it's fantastic seeing veterans take positions.
Can you share what they are?
Yeah.
I was thinking the same thing.
Let's hear about it. I mean, let's give them a shout out.
We were visiting Vinteca. So Ben Curran is their CEO from the submarine community. And I remember when Ben took the job when he first moved back here, had a conversation with him, and now being able to see that he's CEO of that organization, it's simply phenomenal.
What do they do?
So they provide the software platform for all of those homeowners associations for
cool.
payments. Yeah, very interesting conversation. And, his mission right now is 80% of his employees he wants in Wilmington.
Nice.
So, yeah. The second company was Encino.
Okay.
So Josh Glover, their president from the Raider community, and Encino has just been a phenomenal partner to THF in terms of volunteers, passionate individuals who are just looking to do the right thing. So, and I think that that's important. It's finding those organizations that are embracing veterans and veteran talent, but then leveraging those relationships to get new ones in new industries, and branching out. If somebody comes to me and says, I'd like a job in insurance, yes, we've got employer partners, but if there's an insurance company specifically you're looking at, we're going to work to make sure we've got FaceTime with that company in order to highlight an individual's talent. So
very cool.
A lot of intel that you have to do on the companies too. A lot of business trends, market analysis to make sure that we're going in with the right information. Yeah, I think those are the only 2 challenges. Fellow, joining the process and really embracing it, and then finding the companies that want to embrace veteran talent.
So is the goal education, or is the goal also to have like a tangible outcome for the fellow at the end of it, like a job offer or something, or is it more just the tools to help them continue in their hunt? Or
Yeah. So I think it depends on where they are in their journey. But what we want them to do is find fulfillment, how they define fulfillment. So if it's a full-time job, let's help them find that right full-time job where they're going to have all of what they're looking for. If they want part-time, if they want to become an entrepreneur, how could we share their resources to make sure they're having the right conversations? But if they want to take time off and just enjoy being with their family, that's fine. As long as we've given them a little added insight into what's important to them and getting back down to why they are who they are. So what's that purpose that they have moving forward? So we are education.
From my experience going through it, I think a big thing I recognized is it's sort of like an informed a process where you're being informed and refined, right? So you have folks who may already know what they want to do, but it forces you to consider what your goals are, the outcomes you really want, what you do best, some of your characteristics that maybe you don't even recognize come natural to you, or you're not as interested in or good at as you thought, and just what your priorities are overall, right? So you have that range of folks where this was kind of a question I had, but you have that range of folks where maybe they're retiring, right? And they don't know what they want to do. They're going to have benefits and a pension forever, and they're still nervous. they're wondering, like, am I doing the wrong thing? Like, you have to leave. What do you mean? Like, you have no choice, right? And they're still wondering, is this a bad idea?
Yeah.
And then you have someone else getting out at, I mean, I guess in soft 8 to not 20 years or less, right? Mm-hmm. And they may be more in that boat of instead of having a to-do list, they have a don't want to-do list. So helping them narrow that down into, I do this best, I'm interested in these things, being energized about what I'm doing may be more important than getting paid very well for it, helping people narrow down some of those dynamics. And it helped me a lot too. It forced me, I'm still doing what I was doing when I went through the program, but it forced me to really think about what my priorities were and the goals that I was laying out for myself. So it's kind of helpful no matter which side of that spectrum you're coming from.
Dave Polaris used to say that THF was not therapy, but it was therapeutic. And I that has always stayed with me because at the beginning of the cohorts, we ask our fellows, what is the most challenging part when you think of transition? What comes to mind? And at first, in this word bubble, financial security comes up, location of where I'm going to live. But at the end of that bubble, when you really have all of the comments put in, it's a sense of purpose and a sense of community. And that's one of the beautiful things about THF is we're allowing individuals to explore what their purpose is going to be in their next adventure while holding very true to what they've done in this career that they've loved so much. Do they still want to work on a tight team where they know everything about each other, they're going to do anything that they can to help each other? Or do they want to explore something on their own and just kind of take a step back? But at the end of the day, we provide that community for them and that sense of support because when you go through THF here, for example, the Raiders, now you're looped in with a whole new group of Raiders you may not have known. And it's this tribe of support that you're giving each other. And I think that that's really important for individuals when they are transitioning to recognize that there are groups out there that will help keep that sense of community and sense of purpose. We happen to be one of them.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I didn't have anything.
There's Matt
I didn't have anything
like
to
you
add to
promised
that.
he would.
Yeah, I recommend it to
I'm gonna throw
anybody
something.
I can think of that. Anybody that I meet that's saying they're planning on getting out, first thing I say is like, you need to apply to the Honor Foundation, hands down, definitely. And most of them have taken me up on it, so I'm definitely glad when I see that.
I wish something like this would have been around when I transitioned years and years ago, but it wasn't.
So, and I hear that often, especially here in Wilmington, that there was nothing there. And unfortunately, we're very fortunate that we've got this program now. But at the same time, one of the things we say is ask for help and be vulnerable to listen and share a little bit about where you are in your transition. And you'd be surprised how many people want to help you then. And that's the beautiful thing about VBC now, too. You've got this group of veterans in Wilmington who, at any point, another veteran can pick up the phone and call, and they're there to support and help and make connections and be a battle buddy for them in whatever their next endeavor is or struggle that they're having with business or need to just bounce ideas off. That's the great thing about the veteran population is it's the support. And then from the spouse perspective, knowing that that's there, it's encouraging because we say transition's a team sport, but I can't tell you how many spouses I'm helping now when their husband or wife is going through the program. I'm helping their partner too, because it's how can I help you get the job you want if you're going to stay here? Or, okay, you're going to move to Nashville. Let's find you both a job. If having a job for you as a spouse is very important for your identity, let's do that. When I moved here, I didn't have a job. I was a stay-at-home mom, and I was good with that. I took time off, and I wanted to be there to raise the kids. And then once they hit that school-age time where I'm like, I could go back to work. I want to go back to work. I remember it. I was sitting at a Whole Vets event. That's what it was.
Oh, that's awesome.
I was sitting at a Whole Vet event, and it's where I met Matt Mylott over there. He had his red pants on. He was sitting on the panel. It was great.
You said red pants?
Red pants.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, red pants.
I have not,
Fire engine red pants. They've gotten faded over the years.
not
but-
observed
More of a
these.
pink now, maybe?
Yeah.
Okay.
Little salmon color.
Matt, we haven't seen those yet, buddy.
You got to put them on, Matt. But I remember the panelists, Matt included, was talking about the strength of veterans and just apply for jobs. And I remember I stood up and I said, well, what about somebody like myself? I'm a military spouse and I haven't worked for a few years. I've got a gap on my resume right now. What do I do? And for me, it was encouraging. Matt said, who do you want to work for? We'll figure it out. And then I left that day with amazing contacts. And then I started working just a few weeks later. So, but if I didn't stand up at that event and be brave and take that bold, like raising my hand, I don't know when I would have gotten back to work.
Right. No, that's a great point. You got to be willing to ask for help if you're going to get any.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
With that though, because I think that's something talked about less often. The family dynamic in getting out. It's normally really focused on the service member. So, what are some things you'd recommend people considering that have that responsibility? I was single and kidless, so my thought was like, well, I just am responsible for not starving to death, pretty much.
Yeah.
And I've taken a few courses that leave me feeling really prepared for homelessness, so that's not really a concern, right? But a lot of times, people making that transition, they almost feel like they're putting their family at risk because of the things they're not certain about. Yeah. So what would you say they should consider and discuss with their significant other and their family in doing that?
Those challenging and difficult conversations. I mean, that comes down to the honesty too between each other. What are you fearful of in this transition, or what are those expectations you have of each other in it? But I think one of the big things in the journey for a family is knowing what you want to do. Once you've come to the terms of saying, this is what I really want to do, then it's finding the right environment for it. It's finding the right, if it's a company, it's finding the right company. If it's to go on to finish your undergrad or go to graduate school, it's finding the right school. And so that environment is what should drive a person for their next adventure. Who are the people you're working with? What are the values of the organization that you're looking at? How much flexibility is there? COVID definitely shifted what a work environment looks like, from hybrid to flex schedules to 4 days of work and that's it. So go in with the understanding of what you want to do and what is your must-haves, and keep those. Like, you have that choice to do it, and I always say that. Don't limit yourself by giving something up. We have this exercise, and I think it's the second class, preferences and priorities. We got these 5 options: love what you do, love who you work with, live where you work reasonable hours, make good money. And the exercise is, you've got to give up 2. What are you going to give up? And I always throw the caveat in now. I say, this is hypothetical, but at the end of the day, you can have all 5. It's attainable. And I love getting those testimonials back from alumni saying, by the way, I have all 5. I'm like, yes, that's perfect. Like, you didn't give anything up.
Nice.
You found the right company, you found the right team, you did the journey the right way. Awesome. That's why we do what we do. And that's important. So I think knowing what you want to do and knowing what you're not willing to give up, because there's been so much sacrifice in this career, in this community. Don't sacrifice. Own it.
Yeah, that's great advice, and tough advice to follow, I think, for a lot of folks, because they're used to that sacrifice just being a way of life. Like, oh, yep, another kid's birthday gone. Like, just part of just the way it is, right? And you don't even think that there's an alternative. You could just be there. You don't have to give it up for the job, for the paycheck. You could have both.
And it starts during transition, though, too. So many of the fellows who go through THF are still on active duty. So it comes down to, what is your relationship with at your command and your leaders? across the commands, everybody's very supportive of letting our fellows get to class. We do class 2 nights a week from 5 to 9. So from 5 to 6, we cater dinner. 6 to 9 is instruction. So they are leaving their active duty job for a good, hour prior to class start. But the other thing that I always say is, moving forward, hold your schedule. Do what you want to do. Make sure that you're going to own that and navigate it. Embrace it. Take that challenge along the way, but be willing to, use your voice. That's one of the big things. Use your voice in order to attain what you need. And then I lost my train of thought. So it went somewhere.
Well, I've got a new one.
I found it.
You got it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I got
All
it.
right. I'll see if I can remember mine then.
Okay. So just today was the example. We can only say so many times to individuals, it's going to be challenging, but trust this process that we're telling you. Trust the process. Trust the process. Hearing it from individuals we visit and companies and from volunteers, hearing it from our coaches to our fellows, that makes the difference because we provide that classroom environment, but hearing it from others, then all of a sudden you're threading together voice after voice of this is the message, your skills, your experiences, it translates. You will find a job. You will find the university. You will become that entrepreneur. So I think that's the beautiful thing of THF. It's that constant thread of you can do this. Trust this. Trust us. Go ahead. It's on you now. Did you lose your thought?
No,
Okay.
I'm holding it.
Okay,
holding
good.
it tight.
Go.
I was listening, but I've got it. I got it. So you're probably aware, maybe you're not, but you probably are. So one of my good buddies in the VBC, who actually received the Veteran of the Year award from the VBC this year, John Panichone with Full of Capital, has set up a Skills Bridge program. And he has one of your recent alumni, at least one, maybe two. I don't know if the other guy from the West Coast is a THF alum or not.
I believe he is with Shane.
Could be. I don't remember or not. But so he has two right now working with him, which is such a fantastic opportunity. Internship with Fulla or not, just spending time with John Panichone is worth its weight in gold. I've never sat down with him and not learned something. So those guys are really well taken care of. But he took it a step further, and he reached out to me and said, hey, I've got these guys for however many months it is. I think in Shane's case it's 4. The other guy it might be 6. He said, but I want to leverage the VBC and our community to provide more value than what I can provide on my own at FOLA and get them some more exposure. So he came up with this idea, which we've put out there, but we haven't put into practice yet, and I don't know if everyone's mentioned it to you or not, so I'll bring it up. It's basically business ride-alongs with VBC members. So we have a ton of people in every industry you can think of, from financial services to insurance to restoration, concrete, construction, every HVAC. We had folks today, handyman, rebuilding, pressure washing. Every kind of industry you can think of is represented, even just in Wilmington, much less our other locations. So the idea was take a fellow or any veteran who's transitioning or recently transitioned, or maybe they transitioned 10 years ago. I don't know. It doesn't really matter, I guess. But I guess the focus would be on the active duty folks who are close to transitioning and saying, hey, if you're not sure yet and you're considering business ownership, pick 4 that you might be interested in, or 5, and go spend a day with the owner. And just go see what a day in the life is like in each of these different businesses that you're thinking about maybe running. What's your reaction to that idea?
So I love the idea. I love the engagement. We find that a lot of our fellows end up doing shadowing type experiences through what we have as our cups of coffee conversations. So they'll reach out to somebody in our directory, or they'll do their own research on LinkedIn and find somebody that they want to learn more about their career. And as that relationship begins to expand and get deeper and deeper, they end up following them for a little bit.
Okay.
I think value-added experiences for transition is important. So if it's shadowing, learning a day in the life of, I think any resource that is out there to match the needs of the individual everybody should take advantage of those resources. It's, transition's a tiered approach. There's a lot of resources out there. And when you've got a group of individuals who are willing to share their time and talent, that is a win-win. Because not only is it information going down and knowledge going down, but the business owner is also learning from the veteran too. They'll see something from a different lens, a new perspective, and it's the right thing to do. So John's idea is a good idea.
Awesome. I'll let him know you said so. He usually listens. He'll hear it.
Send me an email.
Send you an email.
So, I mean, that's the great thing, though. I mean, we've got so many THF alumni who are now going to VBC and joining the meetings and watching the networking that goes on. It's kind of icing on the cake because it's great practice for what you're learning in the classroom at THF is going out and actually doing it then, and that application part to it.
So what do we got to do to get THF to change their training days from Thursday to some other day of the week so you can spend more time with us?
So I think we did change it moving forward.
Did you? Did you really?
I think we were looking.
Oh,
yeah,
wow,
because
okay.
It's attending the networking events in the evening is a fantastic opportunity for everybody who goes through it, and it's a win-win for myself and for Chris Bannister, the program director, too, because we're able to highlight the talent and connect the dots. And we're a nonprofit, so we're operating out of the generosity of others. But here, when so many businesses want to retain talent, and when you understand the needs of the families we serve, that they've got kids in schools, they've lived here for years, they'd rather not pick up and move, how can we all work together collaboratively to make sure that we're keeping everybody here? It's a win for businesses, it's a win for the schools, it's a win for the Wilmington community. So we'll change the schedule, so we'll get to BBC.
Awesome.
You heard me say it here.
It's on the record.
On the record. Sorry, Chris.
Because it's been a year, and it's like, hey, gonna see you next week at the VBC. It's like, we have class on Thursdays. I'm like, come on, just change it. Just change it.
We have our graduation next Thursday night.
Do you really?
Yes.
Nice.
Change it.
For the local.
For the local Raider one.
Because
Yeah.
next
I need to
Thursday's
write
our
that down.
April meeting,
I know.
and we have some special guests coming in. It's gonna be pretty cool. We have the Grunt Style Foundation folks coming down.
Oh, okay.
That's awesome.
Should be pretty neat.
Yeah.
They were going to come in May, and then we got notified that their schedule had to change, so they're going to be here next week. And they're doing a really big effort on the burn pit legislation.
Yeah.
So they're behind that, and they're doing the traveling road show to help support that.
It's amazing the additional causes and initiatives that veterans and other veteran organizations are bringing forward for more to learn about. So the burn pit, yes, but then the uptick in cancer cases, the upticks in TBIs and the results, the lasting results of that for families. I think that it's a wonderful initiative and a wonderful tool to start leveraging other veteran service organizations to make sure that it is getting publicized of what's going on. And veterans are very passionate about those causes, too. So you've got a lot of voices behind a cause, and that's important. It is.
Awesome. Well, we're running short on time.
Okay.
So we've got 2 more things we'd like to ask you.
Okay.
One is, do you have any sage advice, words of wisdom that you'd like to just leave on the table for our listeners? And it doesn't have to be related to anything we've talked about today. It could be anything Lindsay wants to share with the audience.
Be you. I mean, be yourself in your journey. Be bold in your journey. I think that that's really important. Your journey in your current career, for your next career. Be you in the relationships and the friendships you have. I think that when you are your authentic self and you find the right environment to be your authentic self, you will have nothing but success and happiness along the way. So may not be specific to, THF career advice right now, but that's what I tell everybody. Just be you. Be yourself in this journey.
No, that's wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
That's one of the advantages to doing this is we get to hear things like that from people who have a ton of experience in all different walks of life and doing different things. So thank you for that. The last ask that we have of you is there anything on your must-read list that you could share with us?
A book that I continually go back to is Brief by Joe McCormick.
I have not heard of that one.
I haven't either.
I'm going to write it down.
Write that one down.
Write it down.
It is a phenomenal book that truly just talks about, lean communication, but it comes down to achieving more by saying less. Basically, it's that powerful storytelling tool of how to map out your story the right way so you're in the right amount of level of details. It's a phenomenal book. I go back to it all the time. And he has a second book.
I haven't even read it, and I already know some people I'm going to buy it for.
There you go.
I have a
Are you looking at Avery for a certain
Nope,
reason? Or,
nope.
Okay.
Well, I have a personal question off of your book recommendation. It's interesting. So when I text people or email now, I will put it in bullet format. So it's almost like a punch list. I've had people read that before, and they either think like something's wrong, or I'm coming in hot and just telling them like, just do this, right? Like I'm upset, or it comes off as cold. Is there anything from reading that book? Is there anything from reading that book that you think, I don't know, that shapes what you think of someone doing that? What would you think of seeing that in communication, like professional communication, I guess?
Well, the written word is always hard because it depends on how it's received by the person and the mood that they're in and where their headspace is at the time. But what the book highlights is it's not necessarily bullets that you have to write. You could actually get your point across in 2 or 3 sentences versus 5 or 6 bullets. I don't mind when I get an email or text message with bullets in it because it's a reference for me saying check, easy. But it depends on the individual.
Okay.
It's also, don't put something in giant bold
No
cap
bolds.
letters.
The thought behind it was I'm eliminating ambiguous context.
Yeah.
There's zero emotion in this. It's essentially a checklist.
I do the same thing.
Please and thank you.
And part of the reason I do it is also because it makes it easy for someone to reply. Right? Instead of trying to pick through a paragraph and respond to questions that are embedded within a longer text, it's question 1 is this, and they can just reply right under it. Question 2 is this, and it just makes it clear and easy. But I've had the same reaction from people that are like, "Why are you so rude?" When I had a ton of please and thank yous up front and a ton of please and thank yous at the end, but I had a little list and it made them feel like I gave them homework or something.
I've even had people call me after, like, "Hey, I just want to make sure," and I'm like, "I don't understand why you're calling. There's nothing wrong."
But then I've had other people that say, "Thank you so much for making it clear and easy to communicate too." So I think Lindsay's right with it. Just depends.
Just depends. But yeah, definitely my book recommendation, Brief.
Definitely gonna
Nice.
check it out. And before I even read it, I'm gonna send it to a couple people that could definitely stand being a little more brief.
Christmas gift.
Yes.
Oh my god.
I think we all know a
Sorry
couple
to all
people.
the receivers of the book.
I think we all know some people that once you get them on the phone for a simple like, "Hey, do you know about this one thing?" And 45 minutes later, you're like, "Are we still on the phone? Why?" They're getting this book just based on the name.
It's a good one. It is a good one. His second book against it is Noise.
Noise
So start with Brief.
and then Noise. Same
Yep.
guy.
Same guy.
All right. I'm getting both of them for a couple of these cats.
And Matt, I'm sorry I mentioned your red pants. Sorry about that.
I think he's changing right now. Actually, he's going to put them on.
Putting on his
But,
uniform.
Well, it's great having you. Thanks for making the time. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Thanks for doing what you do for our veteran community, active duty and veteran community, I should say. It's amazing to have people like you involved and caring as much as you do, not just clocking in and clocking out because that's how you earn a paycheck, but doing it because it means something to you as well, and that means a lot to us.
It's my pleasure. It's me being me. I'm being you at THF. That's the great part about THF. Every single person on staff is there for the right reasons. There's a connection to the community. There's a passion. And we are successful when individuals transition the right way.
Awesome.
Avery is a ambassador to that too. So.
Thanks.
Yeah, we'll have to cut that soundbite out in the beginning for you to use on the THF platforms because that was a pretty strong endorsement.
I haven't been homeless yet.
All right. Well, thanks, Lindsay. It's been fun.
Thank you. A lot of fun.
Bye.
Thanks for checking out the VBC podcast.